Imelda is turning away from us, but spotty showers still linger. I'm tracking who could see rain tonight and the return of cool fall air.
Then tightening the belt. That's what Rocky Mount leaders are hoping to do after it's revealed the city spent millions more than it had. What positions the town says they'll have to cut. And shutdown looming. Only a few hours left for lawmakers to find a compromise and avoid a government shutdown. The strain it would put on North Carolina if a deal isn't reached in time. Well, a little bit of rain sticking around in our area tonight. You've got a live look at South Hill, Virginia on your left, a live look at the radar on your right. It's been wet and drizzly all day long. That'll likely continue for a little while longer. Thanks for joining us at 7 o'clock. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Dan Haggerty. Now, the rain today is actually the outer band of Hurricane Imelda. You can see the storms right here, Hurricane Umberto as well, headed back out to sea, which is nice. They got one look at our coast, made a little U-turn, and they're heading back out. Yeah, nice stuff.
Kat, this is such a relief. The rain, we know, lasts overnight, but then things dry out.
Yes, we've got big changes coming our way once we get rid of Imelda. Just a couple of sprinkles left. We've got a little bit of light rain around Garner right now, headed toward Knightdale and Wendell. Just sprinkles. It's patchy drizzle that you'll see this evening and tonight. You could wake up to some tomorrow morning, but it would only be for an hour or so, and then we do gradually clear out. Imelda is moving east-northeast now at 12 miles per hour. Look at that sharp turn to the east it made earlier today. The center remains about 350 miles offshore, but it's been churning up rough surf at the coast today. Buoy wave heights registering about 10 to 15 feet, and that's what's led to some big issues, including homes collapsing into the Atlantic Ocean along the Outer Banks. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at this north wind kicking in behind the tropical systems and the big changes that'll bring.
All right, sounds good, Kat. Now, if you watch us here at 7 o'clock, you know we talk a lot about gerrymandering, and we do that for a good reason. Those maps determine a lot, like who represents you at the state and federal level, which then determines which laws pass and which ones fail. And it's the people who are already in power, the people in charge here, who get to decide and draw those maps for the future. Today, a federal judge made a key ruling in a lawsuit over North Carolina's state Senate map. This is it. This is the one we're talking about here. And you'll notice that big green district there on the right, on the eastern part of the state that kind of snakes around all the way from Warren County down to Emerald Isle. Yes, it looks a little crazy. I mean, you could admit that. The lawsuit does claim that it does more than look crazy, though, that the map actually weakens the voice of black voters in that region. The judge disagreed with that. But to find out why, I spoke to WRAL state government reporter Will Doran. All right, well, let's take a look at the map and get into some of the details. The two districts we're talking about, this tan district and the green one here, give me an idea of the complaint that ultimately led to the lawsuit about how this was drawn.
Yeah, well, as you can see, this green district, I mean, it snakes for hundreds of miles across the state. But the really main complaint was this area just northeast of Rocky Mount here, where it splits this area in half. This is known as the Black Belt of North Carolina. It's called that because it's home to several different majority black counties, and it splits that area in half. The complaint in this lawsuit was that state lawmakers not only could have, but should have kept all of those counties together so that they would have then been able to elect probably a Democrat who would have represented the wishes of the voters in that area, but by splitting them apart into two districts, both of those districts ended up representing Republicans.
And the concern there is that by splitting up that vote, you're then diluting the black vote in these areas. But the judge did not see it that way.
That's correct. Federal Judge James Deaver, he shot this complaint down. He said that there was no evidence on the record that lawmakers used racial data or were otherwise motivated by race when they were drawing this map. He also said that if you look at the evidence, there's no evidence that the white Republican senators who now represent this area have been discriminatory against their constituents. He said that that black belt portion of the state has actually received an above average amount of state funding for their local schools, and obviously education is more than half of the state budget, so that's a pretty substantial way of looking at how they're represented in the legislature.
There were some other stakes to this lawsuit, though, when it comes to the balance of power in the state.
Exactly. We're only talking about two districts here, but margins are so thin in the state Senate. Republicans actually only hold the supermajority right now by one seat. So if Democrats had been successful here in flipping one of these districts by changing the map, then they could have broken the supermajority and really given Governor Josh Stein's veto a whole lot more power in the state legislature that it currently holds. So clearly big stakes here. It could still be appealed. We're going to have to wait and see how this all rolls out ahead of 2026 or perhaps even the 2028 elections.
All right. Thank you, Will.
Thanks.
We should also say that the NC Capitol team here at WRAL asked the attorneys who brought the lawsuit against the maps if they do plan to appeal that federal judge's decision, but we have yet to hear back.
All right, let's get you caught up on some of today's other big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. An SRO used a taser to break up a fight at a Southern high school in Durham. The sheriff's office said the fight broke out around 11:30. It involved at least a dozen people. No one was hurt. The sheriff's office is looking into whether charges will be filed. The use of a taser will be reviewed as well. Another school bus crash in Johnston County today. This was the scene on Pollock Street in Selma. 9 students were on board, none of them hurt. A driver did go to the hospital, though. Officials didn't say what caused the crash. This is the 3rd school bus crash in Johnston County in just the last 2 days. 5 more homes fell into the waves at the Outer Banks today. Take a look at this. This is video out of Buxton showing the moments those homes fell apart. The beach there is now closed because of the huge amount of debris in the water. It's really a hazard. Nobody was in the houses at the time. Get this makes 17 homes that have collapsed at the Outer Banks in the last 5 years.
That is something else. Governor Josh Stein signed a bill into law today that could shorten the lines at the DMV. You can now renew your license online more frequently. Lawmakers hope that more online opportunities will mean fewer people having to show up and actually stand in line there at the DMV offices. Governor Stein is not so sure about a different bill on his desk, though. We're talking about the crime bill named for the young woman who was stabbed to death on a train in Charlotte. Stein says that he's still not convinced that this bill in the legislature, I should say, put together, will actually do what it's intending to do, and that's to cut down on crime. And he wants more money for mental health care. You're firing the very people who are saving lives. That is your quote of the day, coming from the former Rocky Mount fire chief. He's talking about the proposal to make up for how much the city has overspent in the last 2 years. The city right now needs to find a lot of money, about $30 million over just the next 10 months. And to do that, they're going to be raising natural gas rates and electricity rates for the residents. And now they're considering some layoffs at the police and fire departments. Officials say 7% of police and fire positions are now in jeopardy. And WRAL's Flynn Snyder heard from that former fire chief about it.
Former Rocky Mount Fire Chief Keith Harris knows the importance of a rainy day fund. He helped the city recover after Hurricane Floyd. Now he's speaking out amid another crisis.
And somebody's got to be held accountable.
City leaders have announced plans to cut 10 to 15 positions from the police department. Another 5 to 10 at the fire department are possibly on the chopping block.
Any cuts to those 2 agencies, particularly in today's environment and the things that have been going on in Rocky Mount, any cuts to those 2 agencies to me is not prudent.
City leaders say the cuts are necessary as Rocky Mount looks to ease its budget crisis. All departments could be impacted. At a recent budget discussion, Rocky Mount city leaders revealed that the city's rainy day fund has gone from $100 million in 2023 to now roughly $20 million. Leaders say the cuts to police and fire include unfilled vacancies, civilian staff, and non-sworn positions.
Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, there's positions that the city had throughout every department that were not officially authorized, and so we want to start by eliminating those.
Both the police and fire chief in Rocky Mount declined an interview for this story, saying it's too early to comment in the budget process. According to Mayor Sandy Robertson, violent crime in Rocky Mount was down 12% last month compared to last year. Harris believes crime remains high and any cuts could change that trend. How would that impact the people who are on the front lines?
Yeah, it could have very serious implications. They are the people responsible that are backing up and holding up these public safety professionals. To cut them, it can have serious consequences in the level of service that's conducted here.
A financial crisis that could jeopardize some positions in all Rocky Mount City departments. Flynn Snyder, WRAL News, Rocky Mount.
So a final decision on the potential layoffs is expected now in the coming weeks, so we'll have to wait. A budget discussion for people living in wards 5 through 7 is also set for tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. They got a lot of money to find.
Okay, speaking of money, speaking of budgets, budget discussions continue in Washington, D.C. tonight. We are just hours away from a government shutdown. Instead of pointing fingers at who's to blame for negotiations not going well, let's talk about what would actually happen if the government shuts down. Would you even notice? We're going to explain right after the break.
Welcome back. This is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center up here on our assignment desk where we are tracking a shooting investigation right now in Wake Forest. Police tell us this is happening on Mill Dam Road. One person taken to the hospital with what they're describing as life-threatening injuries. They believe this is an isolated incident at this point and the public is not in danger. WRAL's Willie Danley is on his way to the scene, should be arriving shortly. We'll have updates through the evening on WRAL News Plus and, of course, tonight at 10 and 11 on WRAL News.
All right, Brian. Congress has just a few hours, 4 hours, 46 minutes to find common ground and avoid a government shutdown. They have until midnight to make a deal on spending. They've been negotiating for weeks, but as the deadline has gotten closer, they've struggled to find a final compromise.
What the Democrats have done here is take the federal government as a hostage.
House Democrats are on duty, House Republicans are on vacation. Amen. Shame on them.
It's a burden that can easily be avoided if the Democrats will just apply common sense and do the right thing.
Of course, the left blames the right blames the left. We've seen this government shutdown clock before, and the blame game played out really exactly the same way. What we're hearing today is similar to what we heard back in 2021.
What the Democrats are trying to do to this country is irreversibly bad. It's going to be a very long December.
If a handful of Senate Republicans choose obstruction, there will be a Republican-manufactured shutdown caused by Republican dysfunction.
Figuring out which party to blame and which party should score political points, it really doesn't help anyone, right? So for a moment, let's talk about the actual consequences of a government shutdown, what it might mean for you. And we should start by saying government shutdowns are actually a modern problem. The budgeting process we use today started in 1976 under President Ford. And in 1981, the Attorney General under President Carter issued a strict interpretation of the rules, setting the standard for the next 50 years. He determined that a lapse in budget meant all government work must stop, with a few limited exceptions. Before this, if the Congress didn't agree on a budget, it was really just seen as a temporary problem. Business continued as normal. Since then, we have seen 8 government shutdowns. The first one lasted just 4 hours in 1986. President Clinton saw 2 shutdowns in 1995, one lasting 21 days. Barack Obama was the president during the 16-day shutdown in 2013. And 3 shutdowns have taken place under President Trump. The one in 2018 lasted 35 days, the longest in history. So, what can we learn from those previous shutdowns? Here are some of the things that will not change. Social Security checks will keep coming in. The mail will still arrive. VA medical facilities and clinics will stay open. SNAP benefits will stay in place for at least 1 month. But remember, the shutdown in 2018 lasted 35 days, and SNAP came dangerously close to running out of money. In 2018, 800,000 federal workers went without pay. An estimated 7,000 of those workers were in North Carolina. Some were furloughed. Others had to keep coming to work despite not getting a paycheck. Among them were air traffic controllers, many of whom raised a red flag at the time, saying the industry was at a, quote, tipping point. We should say all of those workers did receive back pay after the shutdown ended. So they may have struggled to pay bills, but they did eventually get their money. So what else do these previous shutdowns teach us? In 2013, the national parks had to close, losing $500 million in visitor spending. The FDA and EPA had to delay a combined 2,000 inspections. In 1995, Tens of thousands of Medicare applicants were temporarily turned away because of the shutdown. Nearly 300,000 federal employees were furloughed. So what will it be like this time around if Congress can't make a deal? The biggest concern is furloughs. About 50,000 federal workers are at risk in North Carolina, and at least 200 state employees would be furloughed. The State Office of Human Resources announced that today. But again, those workers will get back pay. Private contractors, private businesses with government contracts will get nothing. They don't have a guaranteed lifeline. For them, the difference between 4 hours and 35 days is huge. The longer a government shutdown lasts, more strain will be put on these businesses and more consequences could take hold, guys.
We will be watching very closely, Ashley. Thank you. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us now. The radar still showing some rain here in our area. It's been a rainy start to the week.
It has been. It's been cloudy when you wake up. Kind of hard to get out of bed in the mornings. That's not going to change yet tomorrow morning. It's still going to be cloudy when you wake up. There could be just a couple of areas of drizzle, but we're not going to see it on a widespread basis like many of us saw this morning. Just a couple of sprinkles close to the Wake County, Johnston County line right now. And we also have a sprinkle up toward North Durham. Not a whole lot of activity out there tonight, but it is still that dreary kind of weather. In the coming days, though, the fall feel returns. 77 for the high tomorrow, 71 Thursday, and 74 on Friday. A couple of things that I wanted to point out here. We do have a small chance for rain tomorrow morning, but the bulk of the day is going to be dry, and that's why we chose the partly cloudy icon. Cloudy early, more sun later in the evening. Thursday, the clouds are likely to roll back in. We've got a northeast wind and a little disturbance in the upper levels of the atmosphere, just bringing some cloud cover for the end of the week. But with the humidity dropping, it is really going to feel like fall with those highs in the 70s. We continue to watch Hurricane Imelda. Here's the center, about 350 miles offshore. This is Umberto. Both are moving away from us. That turn east went as planned today. And let's talk about one of the reasons why. We've got this dip in the jet stream, and that's helping to steer it away from us. Eventually, they'll get caught up with each other as well and stay out to sea. But in the meantime, we still have a little bit of a dip in the jet stream in place tomorrow, so the clouds hold on a little bit longer, and we'll likely have a couple of these weak disturbances move through the end of the week and bring the cloud cover. But no more rain after tomorrow morning. Lows dip into the 50s again, 54 on Thursday morning, 52 on Friday morning, and 50s for lows the weekend mornings as well. Now, you see those 50s, that's for Raleigh. Keep in mind our northern counties and Roxborough, South Hill, those typically cooler spots are likely to dip into the 40s those mornings. A live look at downtown Raleigh from Jimmy V's. It's a nice evening out there. Upper 60s for our temperature. Dew points still in the mid 60s. So it's not steamy or tropical, but it doesn't have that crisp feel when you step outside. That will gradually change this week. Dew points drop back into the 50s and they'll stay in the upper 50s, feeling comfy or tolerable into the weekend as well. Tomorrow morning, just a small chance of some drizzle. Otherwise, we're in the mid to upper 60s. By lunchtime, completely dry, 73. Dinner time temperatures in the low 70s tomorrow as well. And then our temperatures really drop. More clouds and a northeast wind, keeping us cooler Thursday and Friday, especially since we'll start out so much cooler in the mornings as well. By the weekend, we removed our 20% chance for rain. It looks pretty good this weekend. Highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. I feel like that's perfect middle of the line weather. Not too hot, not too cold, right on par and comfortable for your outdoor weekend plans.
Oh, it looks perfect. All right. Thank you, Kat. Just a reminder, you know how much we rely on all of you at home here at the 7 o'clock hour to help us out with stories. Let us know what you're thinking. If you see breaking news that happens or if there's weather in your area, maybe you have a tip for us. You can report it. Go to WRAL.com/report it to send your video, pictures, or tip to our news team. So one last thing for you tonight, an update on a 9-year-old from Durham raising money for a good cause. A touching moment for her and her family this weekend. We think it's going to warm your heart, and it's next. Oh, I love this story. So our one last thing tonight is an update on a little girl from Durham who spent her weekend raising some money for a good cause.
Yeah, it's time for a quick follow-up episode of 7 p.m. Super Kids. Gets me every time.
Yeah, I love it. So some of you may remember Eleni. She's 9 years old. She has alopecia. It's a medical condition that causes baldness. Eleni lost her hair when she was just 15 months old.
This past weekend, she and her friends and family, they all walked in the National Walk for Alopecia at Wake Med Soccer Park. It was part of a larger national campaign to help find a cure and raise awareness. The national total was more than $1.2 million. Locally, the total was $18,000. And of those donations in our area, Eleni's team raised the most,
Nice.
$4,275. Congratulations.
Well done.
Her family told us some people saw Eleni's story here on WRAL News at 7.
I mean, it made us feel good. So our viewers, you guys at home, saw her story, decided to actually go to the walk, say hello to her, donate to the cause. I cannot tell you how great that makes us feel here at WRAL at 7 o'clock. But the best part, the part that really made us smile, was that moment that Eleni had been waiting for a long time.
Yeah. So she has a lot of friends, right? And many of them came out to the walk to support her. But before this weekend, she had never met anyone with alopecia, anyone who looked like her. That changed on Saturday. She met other kids with alopecia and some adults too, everyone walking together, supporting each other.
These pictures are just great. So if you're touched by this story, which I know so many of you have been so far, it's not too late to support her, to support Eleni and this cause. Walk for Alopecia is accepting donations. They accept those donations all the way through the end of the year. So December 31st, you can get involved anytime.
She must have just been radiating after that walk. Hey, thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Our next newscast is at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.